everyone please remain seated throughout this safari and keep those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Above your heads is your animal spotting guide. We probably are not going to see every single one of those animals out there today, but we usually have pretty good luck. Now we are going to be visiting those animals in their home territory, so we do want to be respectful to them. And all that means is no yelling, screaming, whistling, clicking noises, kissing noises at those animals. Those noises, they can freak them out, which is for their safety as well as our own. Now this first area of the reserve we're about to head into, it is known as the Little Aturi Forest. The animals in the forest, they tend to be a little shy and to do a good job of blending in with their environment. We're going to want to keep a close eye out. We'll see what we can see. Now it does look like we are going to see some animals right off the bat. To the right are dark brown animals with striped hind legs. Those are the okapi. To the left are two big birds. Those are going to be the saddle-billed storks. Those are the tallest storks on the planet. They can reach heights of up to 5 feet tall, Sabrina Carpenter height, and have a wingspan of about 9 feet, which is about as wide as the canopy on top of this truck. The okapi to your right, because of their stripes, lots of people think they're related to zebra, when actually it's the only known relative of the giraffe. Like a giraffe, they have a very long, prehensile tongue. It's so long that they can lick their own eyeballs and clean their own ears. It being prehensile means they can use those tongues to grab things, like leaves out of trees. Those okapi are very rare and sadly critically endangered animals. They weren't even discovered by Western civilizations until 1901. And even then, were not photographed in the wild for the first time officially until 2008. You might see a black rhino in the back to the left if you can look over the rocks and through this tree branch. Just that big fellow walking around behind the rocks there. The black rhino is a smaller subspecies of rhino. It can get to 3,000 pounds and run at 35 miles per hour. It might come into view just for a second there. Sadly, at one point there was less than 5,000 left on the planet. But thanks to conservation efforts from people like you, today their numbers have doubled. What separates a black rhino from other subspecies, they have a prehensile upper lip. So just like how the okapi has a long tongue they can use to grab things, a black rhino has a long upper lip they can use to pull grass up by its roots and then eat it. Now if you look to the left on the top of the hill, there's some copper animals. Those are bongo. Bongo are known as the ghosts of the forest because they're hardly ever seen. There's also some more bongo down in the bushes, and behind the bushes there's going to be some tan deer-like animals in the back. There's going to be greater kudu if you could see them back there. Only females, you can tell because no horns. Only male greater kudu will grow horns. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and leave the Little Aturi Forest now. And it looks like we are approaching Safi River. Now Safi River is a pretty large body of water, so sometimes there's some pretty large animals that can be found here. But before I talk about the large animals, I will first talk about the birds we'll be seeing. Coming up to our right, and they're the pink-backed pelican. A pink-backed pelican, they get their name from the fact that their backs will turn pink, or at least more pink than normal during mating season. Now, they are an ancient bird. In fact, their fossils have been found to date back to more than 40 million years ago. They're also carnivores, and they're colonial nesters. That means that they nest in pairs of birds that range from 20 to 500 pairs of birds at a time. There are some little baby duckies down there to your left, but they're not from Africa. Not sure how they got here, but they're hanging out with their mama down there. Now, it's not going to be super easy to spot, but down there to the left, if you look behind where all those plants are, there's an old crocodile kind of behind plants, laying down a little puddle of water. Crocodiles are very dangerous animals. They have very powerful jaws, but they don't just use those jaws for catching prey. It also makes them excellent parents. They've been seen rattling their eggs around in their mouths to encourage their little ones to hatch. But now we're heading away from Safi River. And from what I can tell, it looks like we are heading towards the African Savannah. Now the African Savannah stretches for hundreds and hundreds of miles so it's probably where we will spend the majority of our safari. It is home to some of the world's largest and most famous animals. Now, before we do get a good look at any of the animals out and about there on the savannah, first, we're going to be passing by a baobab tree to the right. It's also known as the upside down tree. That's because its branches, they look like roots about 9 months out of the year, which is the dry season on the savannah. For a baobab tree to be the size of the one we just saw, it does have to be over 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I know you said to take this truck off and bring it, but it looks like I got a bump. You want them to still do that?
And now, we have officially entered the African savannah. Now it looks like the first animal we're going to get a good look at here on the savannah are the tall fellas to our right. They're going to be the Maasai giraffe. What separates them from other subspecies is those messier, darker colored spots on their coats. It looks like we are in luck because the newest addition is also out and about. That's the baby giraffe up ahead there on the right, having a snack. Giraffe are the tallest land mammals on the entire planet. They can reach heights of up to 20 feet tall. That's 4 Sabrina Carpenters. And whenever babies are born, like that baby there, they're born at 6 feet tall and can stand within the hour of them being born. That baby was born at 6 feet 2 inches. In February is now over 7 feet tall, so he's had a few months to grow. Looks like there is a whole tower of giraffe out and about today, so we should see some more as we head deeper into the savannah. But before we do, we're going to pass by an animal den to our left, and we're going to try and see if anybody's home right now. Now it does look like hanging out behind the den, once we get past this boulder, we might be able to see some dogs, African wild dogs, also known as painted dogs. There's hanging out to the side of the den, kind of in the corner here, but don't let their cute little cuddly faces fool you. They're the #1 most successful predator in all of Africa. The reason they're so successful, they hunt in packs of up to 30 dogs and simply chase behind their prey until eventually it gives up and collapses from exhaustion. They're successful about 90% of the time when they hunt. Behind the plants to your left is the signature animal of the reserve. Those brown antelope are the sable antelope. You'll see them again behind you if you look as well. It's one of the only antelope species that will fight back against predators, like how we try to fight back against poaching. We are also going to be passing by termite mounds, which have been reported to grow up to 30 feet tall in height and are stronger than concrete. Made out of termite saliva, mud, and dung. You know, poop might not have been my first choice of what to make a mound out of, but it might have been my #2 choice. We'll get another good look at one of the adult giraffe. Here on our left-hand side, there's a bunch more up ahead. The ones up ahead, and this one actually also, it looks like, we're just doing what giraffe do best, which is eating. They spend about 16 to 20 hours a day just eating. That doesn't leave lots of time for much else. So they only spend about 30 minutes to 2 hours a day sleeping.
Look at me though.
They only sleep for a few minutes at a time, so they just take little naps. And when they finally sleep, they usually sleep standing up with their eyes open. One last look at baby giraffe to your right-hand side as well, hanging out by himself. He tends to be a little bit of a loner, likes to hang out all on his own. So. There's also going to be some big cows with big horns on their heads coming up here to our left-hand side with the giraffe. These are going to be the Ankoli cattle. They're also known as Watusi cattle for the Watusi tribe of Africa that domesticated them. These will be one of the only domesticated animals we see today. Now there's also going to be some striped animals that'll be coming up on our right-hand side in a moment. They're going to be Hartman's mountain zebra, a medium-sized zebra. One difference between them and other subspecies, they sort of have high heels on. So their hooves, they're a lot more raised up than their hoof stock, which helps them navigate the more mountainous areas of Africa. And a group of zebras known as a dazzle zebra. The little fellas that kind of look like s'mores, those are the springbok, one of the top 10 fastest land mammals with a top speed of 60 miles per hour. The wildebeest are behind them, the dark gray animals. They make one of the largest land migrations, with up to 1.5 million that have been seen migrating together at one time. They get their name from an Afrikaans word that literally translates to, anyone want to guess what wildebeest might translate to? That's right, it's wild beast. Wildebeest, wild beast. There's some more there to your right. Hanging it out. Up ahead of us here is a rock. In this rock formation, this is commonly referred to as Monkey Point. Looks like an elephant may have passed through Monkey Point, may have toppled a tree to the right over. An elephant like to eat from tall trees like giraffe, but they're not quite as tall, so sometimes they just knock trees over and then eat the leaves off the ground. There is a monkey up ahead, and by Monkey Point. It is the largest, most brightly colored monkey on the entire planet to your left. It is the mandrill. Now that is a male mandrill. The male mandrill is one that gets big and colorful. A full-size male like him can get to 100 pounds, and he is the monkey Rafiki from Disney's The Lion King, is inspired after. To the right is the largest land mammal on the planet. That's an African elephant. Whenever you see an elephant, you can tell that you're looking at an African one by those ears. They're larger and shaped like the continent of Africa, you might have noticed. Now this is probably a male elephant. You'll see him one more time here to your right. And the reason I say that is it looks like he's all by himself. Elephant are a matriarch society. They are led by a dominant female. So whenever males reach adulthood, they will leave behind their herds and go off on their own. Sometimes though, they'll form bachelor herds, small groups of 2 to 3 male elephant. Speaking of elephant though, there was an independent researcher who partnered with the Disney Conservation Fund, and they discovered that elephants are deathly afraid of bees. So, in an effort to protect elephant from African farmers that were killing them to protect their crops, they developed beehive fences farmers can place around their crops. Elephant will hear bees buzzing and they're going to steer clear. That protects elephant from the farmers, protects the farmers' crops from the elephant, and it gives those farmers a free supply of honey. Win-win for everybody. They did at first try to just put speakers up that played buzzing noises, but elephants are very intelligent, so it didn't take long for them to figure out those are fake bee noises. So they had to implement real, what are known as living fences. Looks like elephant have passed through here. One of the ways I can tell are the tusk marks in the clay, mostly to the right. Elephant do like to dig their tusks into clay like that. They'll gather the clay up, then they'll eat it. Them eating clay, it's kind of like their version of them taking their daily vitamin. Clay's filled with rich minerals. Helps keep the elephants healthy. I can see a bunch in the distance, but it doesn't look like they're hanging out in a good spot for us to see again, but we'll keep our fingers crossed and see if we can get another glimpse of one or two in a moment. They might be in the back snacking on snacks right now, which is not surprising because they eat hundreds of pounds of food a day, which is also how much weight a baby elephant weighs the day that it is born, around 300 pounds the day it's born. Now to get a baby elephant to those weights, female elephant, they have to be pregnant longer than any other mammal. In fact, elephant are pregnant for up to 22 months. It's almost 2 years they're pregnant. Now, they don't just eat lots of food, or perhaps because they eat lots of food, they also have to poop a lot of poop. About 100 pounds of poop every day. Their poop is gathered up, and it is recycled. It is turned into useful things like insect repellent and paper. There is a website you can all visit called poopoopaper.com. That's where you can buy paper made of recycled elephant poop. And some of that money does go back towards elephant conservation, or their conservation projects. Now we're also going to see some birds hanging out on this pond coming up here to our left. And the pink birds are the greater flamingo hanging out in this pond. The greater flamingo are the largest and also the lightest in color of the flamingo species. Now they are hatched gray, but after about a year of them eating their favorite food, which is brine shrimp, young gray flamingo eventually turn pink. Now since we're going kind of slow throughout this area, we'll let you in a little secret. That island the flamingo are standing on might look like it's shaped like something a little familiar to you. It is the largest hidden Mickey here at Animal Kingdom that you can see, not from the sky at least. Now a group of flamingo, like that group there, that is known as a flamboyance of flamingo. That's for their flamboyant pink color. Be another large animal greeting us in this next part of the savannah. Coming up on our left-hand side in just a second, you are going to see the white rhino. Now, white rhino are larger than the black rhino that we saw at the beginning of our safari. These rhino can get up to 5,000 pounds compared to a black's 3,000. But they can still run at 35 miles per hour like black rhino can. Now, the horns they have on the front of their face are not made of ivory like an elephant tusk is. Rhino horns are made of keratin, which is the same material that our hair and our fingernails are made of. It's kind of like they have a big fingernail growing right out of their face. White rhino are also a more social subspecies. They like to hang out in groups, known as crashes. A crash of rhino, the group of rhino. There'll also be one to your right-hand side, if you're on the right, in just a second here. Now, the muddy area to our left is a favorite hangout spot of theirs. They like to roll around in mud wallows like that and coat themselves in the mud. It's how they stay cool in the Savannah heat. Most of them have a coat of mud, except for that one to the right is mostly gone. So that's what they would look like, that coloring, if they didn't have a coat of mud on them. We might see them again later on if we're super lucky. But before we do, or if we do, we're going to see the fastest land mammals on the planet, which are the cheetah, coming up here on our left-hand side. There's 3 of them. Cheetahs can reach a top speed of 70 miles per hour and can go from 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds. Now, cheetahs do have non-retractable claws, so while your kitty's claws at home are normally inside their paws so they don't accidentally scratch you, a cheetah's claws are always out, even when running really fast. Now, there's another one laying down out there to the left-hand side as well. They cannot roar, but they can purr, meow, chirp. They're kind of like big house cats, but super dangerous. Now, this rock formation up ahead here, this is known as a kopie. The African savanna is littered with kopie. There's a particular animal that likes to hang out around kopie. Now, if you look behind you, in the middle of the rocks, you might see a lion, a female lion. You can tell that she's a female because she doesn't have a bushy mane wrapped around her neck. If it looks like she's just lying around right now, it's because they're largely inactive most of the day. Their daytime vision is about the same as ours. Their nighttime is 6 times greater, and they do most of their hunting at night. It's not the lazy male like that male there, though, who's going to do the hunting. It will be female lions. His responsibilities will fall on defending their territory and cubs, or pride, from any threats. Waterbuck are to your right. They take their name very literally. They drink a lot of water every day. Once they find a water source that they are fond of, they will stick by that water source and never migrate from that area. Now, that lion right there has the loudest roar out of all the big cats. Big yawn. If he was to roar as loud as he could, it could be heard up to 5 miles away on the savannah. If you want to see the second female lion, she's going to be on the tippy top of the rocks as well, if you look all the way up there. They're the only big cat species that will hunt as a part of a team within their pride. Does anyone maybe know what the Swahili word for lion is? That's right, it's Simba. Simba is Swahili for lion. Now we're going to be passing by some warthog burrows. See if any warthogs are out and about right now. They sometimes just look like fuzzy rocks, although if you look through the bushes, they're right there, running around behind the plants. These are their burrows. They are surprisingly nimble, running at 35 miles per hour like the rhino we saw. But whereas rhino gallop like horses when they run, warthogs bounce up and down with their tails up in the air, like Pumbaa would run in Disney's Lion King. One last look at the waterbuck. If they look greasy to you, that's because of an oil they excrete. People believe make them waterproof, but apparently the main thing it's for is it makes them smell bad, which does have a function. That makes them less appealing to predators, like the lions. One last thing to see. If you look on the ground there to your right-hand side, there are some ostrich eggs. Those are the largest eggs on the entire planet, and they're super duper sturdy. In fact, an adult human male could stand on top of an egg, and it would not crack. Ostriches don't build nests like other birds. Instead, the dominant female simply lays her egg first, and the rest of the females will lay their eggs around hers. But now we're heading away from the African savanna, and heading into what is known as the Magadi Glen. This is where the warden has set up his warden's post on the edge of the reserve, which means we should see the warden's Nigerian dwarf goats. Nigerian dwarf goats are very popular in Africa, both as pets, because they're super cute, and as dairy animals. They produce really sweet and high-protein milk. Now, no animal hates rain more than the goats, so they're probably all going to be huddled up under the little rooftop or in the back of the Jeep, hiding from the sprinkles. They stand at 2 feet tall and have their little pot bellies that hold their 4-chamber stomachs they have to help them digest lots of the stuff they eat. The yellow triangular box in front of the warden's post is a piece of one of the beehive fences I mentioned earlier that keep elephants away. That's what a beehive would look like. Those goats are a great example of how humans and animals can live together in harmony with one another with a symbiotic relationship. The people of Africa take care of the goats, providing food, shelter, and water, and in return, those goats provide companionship, the milk they produce, and they help keep the grass of the land nice and short. But sadly, my friends, our safari has come to an end. However, if you're not done looking at animals and want to see a few more, as long as there's no lightning within 5 miles, definitely check out Gorilla Falls. That's where you're going to find meerkats, naked mole rats, gorillas, all sorts of other African animals. And unfortunately, friends, a lot of the animals we got to see today, they are endangered, either due to loss of habitat or from poaching. But even the smallest bit of effort can make a big difference. All of you can make a difference, even starting today, simply by recycling your park mats or any plastic bottles you've with you when you're done with them at any of the recycling bins that can be found around the park. Now, if you would like to learn more about how you could help some of the animals we got to see today, feel free to speak to a villager at any merchandise location in the village of Harambe about the Disney Conservation Fund. For every dollar that is donated to the Disney Conservation Fund, Disney matches that donation, dollar for dollar. And all of that money, those go directly towards helping the wild cousins of some of the animals that we got to see today. So no salaries or anything like that. And you get a fun hero button you can wear, so that's always nice.